This program is brought to you by the generous support of the Secular Society, advancing the interest of women in the arts in Virginia and beyond.
Hi, I'm Rose Martin, and this is Real Life with Susan Harf, our very favorite life coach. And like you, I can't wait to hear what's on her mind today. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Rose. I'm so happy to see you, and I'm very glad that you decided to join us today as well. So today we're talking about resilience.
Oh, I love this.
Me too. It's something that I think a lot about, and I think we should start out with maybe defining what we see as resilience. What do we mean when we say that word?
Okay, you're looking at me kind of defining like what I think about it?
Sure, and then I'll tell you what I think about it.
Okay, so when I think about resilience, I think about the ability to stand up when something bad happens. I think about the idea that I have in my head that I can get through this, and maybe it won't be as bad as I think, or it's not going to go as bad as I think. And I also think it's an innate power to just say, no matter what happens today, you're strong enough, you can do it, and you can get through it, and maybe I can help other people be resilient too.
So I hope you heard her, because what you just told us is how you find your resilience, what you're thinking about when you're in a difficult situation and you need to get through it. So resilience is really about the ability to get through a difficult situation. And we come to resilience in a lot of different ways, and we all come to it from a different place. So for instance, you're talking about the things you say to yourself when you find yourself in a difficult situation.
Right.
The things that you know about yourself that are going to help you get through it. I think when we start out from a place where we're making our mind, body resilient, because I think this is one of those topics that does have to do with both our mind and our body. And what I think about first when we think about being resilient, being able to say the things to ourselves that you say to yourself, is first of all, how are we living our lives on a day-to-day basis? So are we putting food into our bodies that are helping our body to have fuel and to maintain itself, like a car?
So you think their diet actually impacts resilience?
Yes, I think yes. I think absolutely diet is one thing that impacts our resilience. Not to say that we need to eat salads every day and whatever people think is bad for them, not desserts, not a lot of carbs. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying moderation in your diet is something that will help you be more resilient.
But you're not saying food will help you get past those feelings of anxiousness or anxiety and help you cope with the idea that I'm going through something bad right now and I need to figure out a way and not turn to food in order to resolve it.
Exactly. I'm not saying that food is the answer, but I'm saying if, by the way, prior to having this difficult situation that you're facing, you have been fueling your body in a way that helps you move. And I liken it to starting the car in the morning.
Like Popeye.
Exactly, like Popeye.
like Popeye, okay.
Exactly, eat your spinach. And like I said, moderation. It doesn't mean that you can't have dessert.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you can't have, I believe in a full diet. I don't believe in eliminating anything, but that's a whole separate show.
That's why we get along so well, Susan.
That's exactly right. And we both love dessert, and I do especially. So the point is, I'm not saying leave anything out. I'm saying when you think about eating as fuel for your body, that is something that is going to help you be resilient when you come upon difficulties and difficult situations. Secondly, along with eating healthily, exercise, moving your body. And again, do I mean that you need to be trying out for Mr. Universe? No. I'm saying just keep, my doctor tells me that motion is lotion. So
I like that.
So what I'm saying is keep moving, keep active. Make sure that you're able to be able to get up from a chair and not hurt. And when you do, take care of it if you do hurt. So think about your body as something that needs to be preserved, and exercise, frankly, is another way to do that.
So I was just thinking, use it or lose it. And maybe that it really helps with resilience too, because if you don't have the energy, then maybe you don't have the capacity to say, I can get through this, or I can do this.
That's right.
If you're not building up the energy along the way.
That's right. And when you talk about energy, it's important to figure out, how do you personally get your energy and how do you get your resilience? So for instance, some people, they can love being with other individuals. They can love being with people. They can love being with their friends. They love being with their coworkers. But they get their energy when they retreat. So they need to find time to be alone.
How do you get your energy?
Oh, I'm going to tell you a whole story about how I get my energy. But I am not one of those people who needs to retreat. I get my energy from you, from other people.
See, I'm the opposite. I get my energy from retreating after big events, that I go back home and that's how I recharge my batteries.
And that's, I have 2 sons, as you know, and I've studied them and the way that they get their energy. One of my sons, they both love being with people. They both have a lot of friends and they both love being with their colleagues. But one gets his energy as when he retreats, and one gets his energy from the others. And you can tell just by watching people and observing how it is they act when they're with people and when they're by themselves. So that's another thing to pay attention to. You know how you get your energy. My sons know how they get their energy. I tend to be somebody who gets mine from other people too, but being with other people. But some people don't know what they need to be resilient. And so if you don't know, I say start with basic things like exercise, like healthy eating, finding ways to be social. If you're not already putting yourself in situations with other people, you need to change that, because socializing is very important for your physical and mental health. Did you know that?
I did not know that. But it makes sense, because when you're with people, you're growing, you're thinking, you're interacting, and that's really important. What about sleep?
Sleep is so important, and I am so bad at it, Rose. My husband and I stay up too late, and we get involved in watching these Netflix series and all kinds of stuff, and PBS series, and we just stay up too late, and we're early risers, him more than me, but you need sleep. I'm telling this to myself too. We need to get adequate amounts of sleep, and there's been all kinds of sleep studies and all kinds of studies about how that impacts our physical and mental health and our resilience.
Yeah.
So the other thing that I like to think about regarding the things that we need to do on a regular basis, we need to find ourselves purposeful. We have to figure out not just, and I don't mean like what is our purpose in life, although it helps to know that too, but do things that make you feel like you are important to the world. Find something to do that gives you a sense of purpose. And it can be anything from having a cat to take care of, a dog to take care of, to volunteering somewhere. It's different for different people, but I think it's very, very important, especially as we age, to make sure that we still have purpose in our lives. In fact, we're going to have an entire show devoted to having purpose after you retire, which I think is another great topic. But just in general, it's important for us to do things that have purpose and that we can look forward to. That's another aspect.
But what if you can't figure out what it is you want to do, and you might not be someone who picks up the phone and invites yourself into an organization, or shows up and says, hey, I'd like to volunteer, because you're more someone who's at home, and you'll be happy to do it if the phone rings and someone asks you to do it. What do those people do?
That's a great question. I think one of the places you can turn to is someone who knows you. So it can be a family member, it can be a friend, it can be a neighbor, it can be somebody that you worked with. Talk to them about what they see are things that you are either good at or enjoy. So sometimes I think we can more easily figure out the things we like to do, but other people can help us figure out what we're good at. And so just have a conversation with somebody about, I'm thinking about a new hobby, or I'm thinking about taking up something or doing something in the community. I don't really know where to start. Where would be some places to look? And there's just a plethora of things you can do, from volunteering at a pet shelter, from doing that to there's all kinds of soup kitchens, homeless people who need all kinds of assistance. There's many different agencies out there. I know somebody who goes to the NICU in a hospital and holds babies. She loves babies. She has no grandchildren of her own, and children of her own, and she loves to hold babies, and she's a very integral part of that intensive care neonatal unit.
And you know what, if people don't want to necessarily have their friends kind of think about what they're good at, I think it would be okay to pal around with someone. If they're doing something you like and you're interested in, saying, hey, how about if I go with you on Tuesday?
Absolutely, that is a wonderful idea, because that's also a way to find out if you like it, and maybe you do, and that you could start also volunteering there as well. Or there's so many different activities. I mean, I just look online and look at what's happening in our city, and we find out things that are happening that you didn't even know about. There's a restaurant that has a book group that meets. People go there on a certain night of the week, and they have dinner, and then they talk about what books they're reading.
How do these things help me build resilience, or help me deal with things that are happening? I mean, they're all important, and I think they're interesting to do. But when it comes down to me having a bad day, or it comes down to me having to deal with something, how does that help me?
Very good question. And how it helps is to get your mind off of yourself and off what is bothering you. Because when we seek to help others, there's been monumental research that suggests, monumental meaning there's been a lot of research that suggests that when you forward your thinking toward how can I help somebody else, watch and see what happens to you. You helping other people have joy gives you joy. And that also reminds me, try and pal around with people who think like that. When you are around people who are happy, it rubs off. It really is something that's catchy. So one of the things I want to talk about along with that is happiness, because resilience is related to happiness. And you asked me before, how do I get my resilience? So there's a few.
I'm glad you remembered, because I was going to ask again.
There's a few different ways that I get my resilience. My resilience throughout my life has always come from my relationships. And the way it has is that I study people, I observe the people in my life, and I can honestly tell you that there has been no one in my entire life that I didn't learn something from. Even people who were not that nice to me, I learned something from them about how not to act. So I've learned something from everybody. And there are people who come to my mind when I think about resilience, and one of them is my father-in-law, because he's taught me a lot. And I'm going to give you a secret and tell you that we might just have my father-in-law someday with Rose and I in one of these episodes, and I hope we can, because you'll learn a lot from him too. One of the things I learned from my father-in-law is to be in the present is the way to live your life. When we are in the present, there are so many wonderful things that happen. First of all, you experience what is going on with all of your senses. So when you're in the past or the future, you're not doing that, and you're not really there. You may think you're there, you may think you're in the moment, but you're not.
You're worrying.
You're either worrying about the past, or you're thinking about the future. And that's not to say, this is not mutually exclusive. In other words, like, you can be thinking about, reminiscing about something in the past that was really wonderful that happened, and you can be excited about something that's going to be happening in the future, even in the immediate future or extended future. But so it's okay to do those things. But usually when we're not in the present, we're not doing either of those. Usually when we're not in the present, because those kinds of things are fleeting. I'm excited about something in the future, or I'm thinking about something that was so great in the past. But when we perseverate, when we don't stop thinking about the past or worrying about the future, usually we're thinking about something that we cannot change and we have no control over. And that's when it's a problem, because that whittles down your resilience. And so the exciting thing is, I'm going to tell you how not to do that. If you can become in touch with and literally say to yourself, I have a lot to be thankful for. I got a lot to think about when I say gratitude, and I've got a lot of things to think about when I say I'm appreciative. So when you find yourself thinking about the past, thinking about what you didn't do or what you wanted to do, or perseverating about what happened with somebody or something, when you can wander away from that to bringing your mind to, I'm really grateful for what's happening right now. I'm really grateful.
That is so hard, Susan, because if you're ruminating on something and you're thinking, I'm ruminating on this, this is not good. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm unhappy with it right now. And then you're saying, well, I'm really thankful. I'm really thankful. And I'm saying that to myself, I'm really thankful, but I'm not really thankful because this is really awful, what's happening right now.
Then I would say, okay, so if you're talking about two different things. You're talking about worrying about the past, and you're talking about being in a situation right now that's not good. Okay, those are two different things. So let's start with, if you're thinking about the past and you're perseverating about it, you're thinking about something that you can't change. And so I'm saying, instead of thinking about something you can't change, what I want you to do is that you've wandered there, move back to where you are right now, because usually where you are right now is okay. So thinking about, I got this moment. I'm doing this right now. I'm with my child. I'm with my grandchild. I'm with my colleague. I'm doing what I love to do, or I'm going to do what I love to do pretty soon. I have every reason to be thankful right now. The second you get in touch with that gratefulness, that appreciation feeling, I'm telling you, things are going to change. So that is a way. Gratitude, appreciation for what's happening right now is a really great way, not only to be in the present, and then what happens, you get to experience what you're doing. Beyond that, it's a way to recognize you can't change the past, and that's going to get you nowhere. So I'm saying being in the present brings you resilience without question.
And does it help you build resistance so that you don't go back to the past over and over and over again? Okay.
Yes. And also, being in the present and really enjoying the present, meaning you're appreciative now and you're grateful for the present, that can inform a resilient future.
So what about when the present's not so great?
When the present's not great, you say to yourself, this is not good, this is not what I want. What can I do to change this? And usually, most of the time, there is something that you can do. Even if it's rely on your own thinking to say, this isn't going to last. This is not going to last forever, and soon I'm going to be out of this environment. Usually it's not something that dramatic.
Yeah.
Usually it's something like, I don't like it that it's raining, or I don't like it that I can't go exercise right now, or I don't like it that I have this paper due, or it's usually something that is momentary, that is not going to last for the rest of your life.
And no storm lasts forever.
That's right.
And I've heard too, once you change your attitude about something, then what you were thinking about and worrying about changes, because you're looking at it from a whole different twist, different perspective.
It absolutely does. So that brings me to my next point, which is another way to seek resilience and to get more resilience is to choose every day to be happy. It's a choice. And that's another thing I learned from my father-in-law. My father-in-law came from the Holocaust. It's not like he didn't experience anything negative in his life. And he's not a Pollyanna. It's not like he believes everything's wonderful and rosy and flowers every minute. So he knows what adversity is. However, he still makes a choice to not only be in the present, which I learned from him, but also to be happy. So every day, we talk to my father-in-law every single night at 8 o'clock. Every night, no matter where we are, no matter what city, country we are in, we talk to him every night at 8 o'clock. And one of the things he says when we hang up is, every day is a good day. And he believes it and he means it.
Yeah.
He's not just saying that, he means it. So every day can be a good day. And I also learned that from someone who was a very close friend of mine who was dying. And in the midst of dying, and she taught me a lot of things when she was living. And when she was dying, one of the things she taught me was, I went to see her one day, and she said, I had the kindest hospice nurse today. She was so kind to me. And she said things that really, really made me relaxed and comforted. And I felt so good when she left. And I thought to myself, I just learned something. I learned that in the face of tremendous adversity, there was something that was good that day for her.
And you know what I'm also hearing from that? When it's tremendous adversity, maybe you need to pull yourself out of being the star of the show and go ahead and see how you can reach out to someone else, like that nurse did, to give someone else a moment of peace or gentleness or feeling good. And I also get the feeling like maybe we tend to take things too personally, and maybe every time something happens, it's not about you.
Rose,
taking it so
guess
personal.
what? Guess what? One of our topics this season
All right,
is,
there we go.
One of our other topics this season is going to be nobody ever did anything on account of you. And that is absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned something else that's so important about taking the onus off yourself, taking the star off the light off yourself. And I said earlier that I think when you seek to help others, it can be such a resilient producing event for you. But the other thing is about joy. And I have an amazing rabbi. And the rabbi once said I have actually two amazing rabbis. And one of my rabbis said to me once, did you know that joy is a healing balm? Think about that. So when you allow yourself, let's say you're in a situation that you don't like, and you put yourself instead in a different situation. You put yourself in a situation, let's say, like I mentioned earlier, being with other people, socializing, doing something that you want to do, being with people who you want to be with, and being with people who are joyful. Like I said, it's catchy. So putting yourself in it, like the rabbi said, putting yourself in a joyful situation, in and of itself, when you're done doing that, look back and think, wow, how did I feel tonight when I did that? I felt great, and I didn't feel great going into it. So just allowing yourself to be joyful, it takes some assertiveness. It means putting yourself in that situation, not saying no to the invitation or telling yourself, I'm going to go out and seek it. When you find yourself down in the dumps, or you find yourself feeling like you are in a situation that is pulling on your resilience, that is one of the things you can do to restore it, is put yourself in a joyful situation where other people are happy, other people are socializing or getting together, whatever it is that you're thinking about doing. And I find the social part very, very important for people's mental health. That can be just a fabulous, fabulous balm, like the rabbi said. And lastly, one of the things I want to point out, and I hope I can remember this phrase, but I'm not going to remember it the way that it was said to me, but something to the effect that some people spend a lot of time counting their days. And the more wisdom occurs when you can, instead of counting your days, making your days count. And that's really what we're talking about, about resilience, is making sure that you do things ahead of time. Socializing, eating well, moderation, doing activities that you love, making yourself count, making your life have purpose, thinking about the things that you love to do, hobbies, whether it's your work, family. Sometimes family brings a lot of
opportunities to get resilience
opportunities
too.
For people, friends, all these things that you can do on a daily basis, which will help you when you do face those difficulties, because resilience is all about overcoming them. It's not about never having them.
Right, and I do think we all face that. And the other thing I'm hearing from you is, once you can recognize it, and then you can know, oh, I'm in a period of anxiousness, or I need to tap my resilience. Then if you have the tools to figure out, well, do I need to eat better? Do I need some exercise? Could I call a friend? Or do I need to just get out of this situation physically or emotionally?
Absolutely.
And that'll take charge and help you.
Absolutely. All of those things are appropriate to do. And mainly just being good to yourself and remembering that you deserve to surmount whatever difficulties you face, and you will.
And when I think about resilience, I guess I also think about the future, and that being resilient and having an opportunity to build resilience in any situation oftentimes will have us better prepared to handle what we don't know is coming down the pike yet, all of the life changes that are just going to happen as part of natural aging.
Absolutely.
Or because of life's crazy situations.
And you're so right, Rose. And one of the things that I have done in regard to that is I observe other people doing it, and I say to myself, when I see them being resilient, I say, if they can do it, I can do it too. So yes, you're absolutely correct. We're all going to face that, and as we age, we have been facing those things. But that's why observing other people helps, because, and that's how I've gotten my resilience, is from others, because I see other people being resilient, and I mentioned my father-in-law, many friends. When you see other people surmounting things, you don't have to go through those exact things, but you can say to yourself, if they can surmount what they have to do, I can surmount this. And we already know Rose can, because she told us.
Yeah, well, I think so. So I'm thinking about building resilience, looking at myself, looking at others, modeling that, and doing all of the things you talked to us about today with the exercise and the food and the things that is really going to help build our spirit and make us strong and healthy in order to realize that we can confront anything that we think we might need to, right?
Yeah, we have.
Susan, again, amazing. I learned so much about resilience and this. So thank you all so much for joining us. Susan Harf here was all about resilience. Go home, try it. We will see you again next time. Thanks for watching. I'm Rose Martin.
This program is brought to you by the generous support of the Secular Society, advancing the interest of women in the arts in Virginia and beyond.